Hey gang, it's Ron from itmasterkey.com. And in this video, we're going to talk about the 5 action steps that you need to take to get a better tech resume. So when it comes to your resume, it's super important. We know we got to have the skills. We know that we got to have the certifications, but the resume is super important, right? And hopefully these 5 best practices help you guys land a tech job. We already know that right now, the landscape in tech is pretty serious right now, especially, like I said, for those who are ill prepared. So let's see how much value you guys get out of this. The first thing you need to do, you got to tailor your resume, right? You cannot be lazy. Can't be lazy, can't be lazy, can't be lazy, can't be lazy. So if you just got one resume, right, for every job that you apply for, that's not going to work out too well, right? You got to make sure that you tailor your resume for every job that you apply to. So when it comes to applying for jobs, the job description is pretty much what needs to be in your resume, right? So I always tell, my guys and my girls, all my students, that make sure that you're not lazy, right? Now, of course, you can have templates, right? So these are going to be my templates for networking jobs. These are my templates for server administrator jobs. These are my templates for cybersecurity jobs. These are my templates for cloud jobs. These are my templates for XYZ, right? And then just plug in the information that's needed, because most resumes are ran through something called an ATS, right? So an applicant tracking system. You got to make sure that when your resume goes through these ATSs, that you're good to go and that nothing weird pops up, right? Because if you don't have a certain amount of keywords in your resume, you'll never talk to a human, right? So that's why you see so many posts of people saying, I applied to 1,000 jobs and I've got an interview, because they didn't do this simple trick. They didn't do this. It's not even a trick. It's just didn't do this simple practice of making sure that their resume was always tailored to the job, right? Another best practice is just to make sure that you always showcase your technical skills first. This should be somewhere at the top, right? This should be somewhere where people can see this is what this guy or girl can do. These are the certifications that this guy or girl has. This is what they can do for me, right? Because I understand the only reason you want a job is because what the company can do for you. And the only reason they want to hire you is because what you can do for the company, right? So let's take out all feelings. Let's take out all that. This is business, right? You want a job. They need somebody to fill that job. So make sure that you put your technical skills at the very top of your resume, right? So you got to make sure that you highlight it, I would say at the top, and then probably highlight it again somewhere in the resume. So create a dedicated section for technical skills. There's programming languages, tools, frameworks, and technologies that you feel proficient in, and prioritize skills. This should need to be in red. Prioritize the skills that are most relevant to the job you're applying for. Seem like common sense, but a lot of people don't have it. They'll have something about great team player, some other generic, stuff. Make sure if they're looking for a cybersecurity engineer, cybersecurity analyst, they're looking for a network engineer, you need to say, hey, I am proficient in these networking tools. I'm proficient in these networking skills, right? So just make sure that you highlight that stuff, right? Next thing, always highlight your actual experience, right? Experience that is relevant to the job description and the job that you're applying for. Always bring relevance, right? I've done this before, or I know I can do this, or I've done something similar to this. Always highlight that type of stuff, right? So a relevant experience and achievements. Achievements can be, like I said, certifications. If you made a company more profitable, if you made a company more secure, if you made a framework more user-friendly, so on and so forth, right? And another thing is make sure that you always quantify things, right? Don't just put made company more secure. Say made company more secure by implementing this tool, which saved $1 million, right? Or I was a server administrator and with an organization that had over 10,000 devices. Always quantify, right? Always quantify. Use bullet points to describe your professional experience, focusing on your achievements rather than just your responsibilities. Quantify your accomplishments with metrics such as increased performance, reduced costs, or improved efficiency. One thing I should have dropped at the beginning, no matter what nobody tells you, no matter how long you've been in the industry, no matter how long you've been doing something, your resume needs to be 1 page. That's it. A person should be able to scan your resume, which is what they're going to do anyway. Even if you got 17 pages, nobody's reading all that. That shit is definitely getting thrown in the trash. So just make sure that your resume is 1 page long, right? 1 page long, just so the hiring manager, whoever's looking at it, can go ahead and scan through it and see exactly, what you've done and what you can do for their company, right? So next up, make sure that any relevant projects, relevancy is going to be one of those things that's going to continue to pop up again and again and again. If it is not relevant to the job you're applying for, it does not need to be on your resume. If it is not relevant to the job that you're applying for, you do not, though. This is another thing, right? Under your education portion, right? I see a lot of people doing this. If you have a degree, you don't need to just put where you went to high school, right? Because guess what? You got to have a fucking high school diploma to get a degree, right? And let's say if you got your bachelor's, right? And then you got your master's. Only thing that needs to be on there is your master's. If your master's is relevant to your job description. Now, if you have a bachelor's that is relevant to some tech stuff, then that would be more prominent than your master's because it's not relevant to what you're doing, right? Now, if it's still space for the master's, put it on there. But if it's not space, you need to only have things on your resume that are relevant, okay? So if you did any personal or stuff for organizations. That's another thing. People always discount the things that they've already done. Just really think everything in our lives is centered around tech, from your alarm to your email to Netflix to DoorDash to everything. Everything that we do is tied to tech. Nobody, even your grandma, isn't tech illiterate. That's what a lot of people say. I'm illiterate when it comes to tech. You can't be. Everybody has a smartphone. That's tech. Everybody knows what YouTube is. That's tech. Everybody's on Netflix. That's tech, right? You pretty much have to be tapped in with tech nowadays anyway. So make sure that you feature personal or open source projects that demonstrate your technical abilities and problem solving skills. You can provide links to your digital portfolio. It could be GitHub. It could be LinkedIn. It could be a website that you use only to get a job. Hey, go to my website. Everything, all my past experience, recommendations, referrals, reviews on my past performance are all on there, right? So you just make sure that you make that easy for a person to be able to click on and go to, right? Oh, another thing is on your resume, there is no reason at all that you should ever put your address on your resume. I see people doing that. Don't quite understand the thinking behind that. Nobody needs to know your address. You can put a picture, on there. I always tell my guys and my girls to make sure that they put a picture on there, but never, ever put your address. That is a security issue. You don't know who the hell who's looking at this, especially if you're a woman, is somebody could look, she's attractive or he's attractive and shit, here go a weirdo at your front door. So just make sure that nobody needs to know your address, and the damn sure need to be on your resume. Okay. All right. So last but not least, we pretty much hit this a couple times already. 1 page, which means that it don't need to be no extra stuff on there, right? Keep it super concise and to the point, but get your point across, right? Which is where you want to quantify things, because that is black and white, simple. You don't want to keep it broad, like I said. Optimize the workflow. What does that even mean, right? You got to make sure that you put quantifiable numbers. And by all regards, try to steer away from generic terms. Like I said, team leader, not team leader, team player, well-versed, all this type of stuff, right? Make it not generic. make it where somebody would actually want to read it, and it's not just a bunch of jibber jabber on a piece of paper. So limit your resume to 1 or 2 pages. I say 1 if it's absolutely positively necessary. 2, but 1 is really the max. 2 is kind of like 2 is if you got if you need a cover letter on it, right? But other than that, I would just say 1. And that's another thing. Unless it explicitly asks for a cover letter, you don't need a cover letter, right? I wouldn't say anybody didn't get a job if they put on a cover letter. But what I would say is this: if it asks for a cover letter, put a cover letter, right? Because that's kind of a little bit of a test as well to see if you know how to follow directions. If you apply for a job and it says put a cover letter and you don't, it's okay. This guy or girl don't even know how to follow directions, so we definitely not about to hire her or him, right? All right, so let's kind of go through some examples, right? Kind of how it would be structured, right? It doesn't have to be this way. This is just an example, right? But if you can fit all the information and do all these 5 best practices on your 1-pager, you're good to go. All right, so for example purposes, this would be somewhere near the top, your contact information, right? Your name, preferably a picture. The picture also needs to be professional. Professional can mean different to different people, but basically don't put a family photo, right? It should mostly be a picture of just you, not your family or, you with your dog. Just put a picture of you just so that, okay, this is who, I'm applying, who's applying for the job, a phone number and an email address, and your LinkedIn profile, right? Or if you're doing coding or software development, you could put a GitHub profile, a portfolio, but LinkedIn is usually good enough, right? Your LinkedIn is usually good enough. If you do not have a LinkedIn, I would say that you probably don't deserve to get a job, right? LinkedIn is pretty much if you spend time on social media at all and you're unemployed or underemployed or want something new, you definitely need to be on LinkedIn. Okay. The next thing should be a summary. Some people say that you don't really need this. Other people say that you don't, but it's worked well for my students. So just put a summary, just a brief statement of what you've done and what you hope to do. Right. So a brief statement summarizing your experiences, skills, and what you bring to the role. So that is one of those things that probably need to change every time you apply for different roles, right? Because if you say that you are, awesome at cloud computing and engineering, and the job is for coding or something like that, that probably wouldn't make sense, right? So just make sure that your professional summary has the stuff that you need. The next thing, your technical skills. So list all relevant technical skills, whether it's languages, tools, database, software, different things that you would use in that role, right? In that role. And the job description is going to tell you what technical skills they're looking for. So that needs to be in your resume as well, right? Because remember, our whole point of all of this, of a resume, is to get in front of a human being to really show what we can do, right? So we put what we need to put in here to get to where we need to get. Next, make sure you put your professional experience. For your professional experience, only put the stuff that matters, right? Only put the stuff that matters. Only put the stuff that is relevant to the job, nothing else. If you worked at Kroger or the grocery store, Piggly Wiggly, as a kid, nobody cares, right? Just make sure that you put your job experience, right? Now, what I would say in today's current climate, 2 things. If every 6 to 8 months, you kind of had a different job, you're going to have to explain that, right? How you explain that is on you, but you're going to have to explain that because I'm telling you, they're going to be like, okay, are you only going to be here for 6 to 8 months? So you're going to have to come up with a reason why did you, quit job so much and go to something else? And the next thing is, are you planning on staying at that current role for, a long time, right? So you need to figure out your answer to that. Next up, whatever projects that you have, if you don't have any projects, don't worry about that as much, but pretty much from internships, from personal stuff, from things that you've done just in life, you should have some type of a project that you've done and completed, right? Whether it's putting email on your phone, whether it's updating your phone, whether it's backing up stuff to the cloud, you understand you got different projects. Then education, right? So you can put projects. If projects are more impressive than your education, I will put that first. If your education is more important or more impressive than your education, then I will put, you understand, that whatever is most important, I will put that first. So the education, put your degrees, universities, now certifications and awards, right? If your certifications are more impressive than your education, if your certifications are more impressive than your education, that goes first. If your education is more impressive than your certifications, I will put that next. For certifications, I would also advise you guys, if you are in pursuit, right? If you're about to test for and should pass a certification in the next 30 days, I would definitely put in pursuit of A+, in pursuit of Security Plus, in pursuit of CCNA, in pursuit of AWS, in pursuit of, you get the point. And other than that, I'll see you in class.